What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home here at fakepigskin.com. I'm your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me to break down another NFL slate, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? I'm just hopeful that we get this full week 4 in now that we have this news of the first breakout here in the NFL with COVID. So hopefully that's the last.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty impressed, to be honest, that they've been able to kind of keep it to one team, and they were able to make it through 3 weeks without any issues. Hopefully, yeah, like this is a blip on the radar, not a trend that we should expect to see coming, but you never know. Teams do what they do, and we've experienced in MLB that when they're not bubbled up, stuff like this happens. So, so Pittsburgh, Tennessee is not happening for sure. So adjust your lineups accordingly. I'm sure your bets will be refunded if you placed any wagers before that game derailed. But Brian, we still have a ton to talk about. There's a bunch of interesting games. As always on this show, we hit 4 games, then we break into kind of the best of the rest. We're going to start recapping our card for the week, so you guys can have that at the end, and then hit you with our best bet. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's talk some Miami Dolphins versus Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are traveling from Seattle to Miami and yet are 7-point favorites in Hard Rock Stadium. Where does your head go initially when you see this lineup?
This one, I really don't think that the travel is going to be that difficult for Seattle to kind of deal with. I just think that the way that this offense is set up, their quick strike ability, I think that's probably why the line is set at what it is. Mm-hmm. I think the expectation from the public and from the initial line is that Miami will be able to keep this close because of how bad Seattle's defense has been. But like you kind of alluded to this past Sunday morning, when you're going up against Atlanta, Dallas, New England, like you're going up against 3 elite teams with really good quarterbacks and a lot of great weapons on the outside that, aren't just out there playing backyard football. Those are top-notch NFL offenses.
Yeah.
And although I do like the matchup for Fitzpatrick this week as a potential streamer, I like the wide receivers in this game. I do not think that they have the firepower or the ability to kind of keep up with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I feel like Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be a popular streaming option. And I feel like that was kind of the status of Gardner Minshew. Oh, it was a smash spot and a good opportunity, and he's got all these things, and everybody jumped all over it, and it didn't go well at all. Granted, one instance does not, make every instance like that, but it does concern me when everyone seems to be kind of. But yeah, I mean, there's legit reasons. They're already banged up. They were getting torched. Obviously, facing Dak Prescott and Cam Newton and Matt Ryan makes things a lot harder than when you're facing Ryan Fitzpatrick. But Devontae Parker's healthy and ready to go. Preston Williams, there's a lot to like about this. At the same time, I still feel like Seattle is probably the right spot. I think people are going to talk themselves into, it's on the road. And, we've seen Fitzmagic look really good a week ago, and they have 10 days to prepare. And everything in my head says Miami's probably the right side, which makes me go, but then that's why I like Seattle. And if this was an old school Seattle that liked to run it as much as they used to and that kind of stuff, maybe I'm more inclined to think it can be a little more lower scoring, but yeah, I'm going to take Seattle. I think the back door might be open late, which does worry me with Fitzmagic. But if I had to bet this game, and it's gone inside of a touchdown now in a lot of spots. So yeah, I think if you can get Seattle like -6.5, I love that a lot.
Yeah, no, if I can get Seattle anything under 7, that's going to be money for me. This is also a game that I'm actually looking at watching this line continue to creep up as I'm leaning the under for the fact that Miami plays at one of the slowest paces in the NFL, even when trailing. Like they seem to not play hurry up very good. Seattle, they have the ability to score from anywhere on the field, and all it's going to take is a couple quick strikes as Xavier Howard has not looked like the same guy pre-injury. Byron Jones is still banged up. How the hell is this team going to cover those two crazy, freaking ridiculous monsters on the outside and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett for an entire game? And not to mention the fact that Russell Wilson will be back there against a really blitz-heavy team. And if he breaks contain, you're looking at him having a huge day on the ground as well. I just don't see a way that Miami stays close in this one. And this is a game that I may tease up or please up with Seattle being closer to a 2-touchdown favorite.
Yeah, I don't hate that. And if you look at the line, like 86% of the bets, 89% of the money is on the over. That means everybody's pounding that over. So if you like the under, yeah, waiting till Sunday is absolutely the play. Let's talk about your Dallas Cowboys. There was a couple lines this week when I was doing my initial projections and running through everything that really caught me off guard. And this was one of them. Dallas is at home, and they're a 4 or 4.5 point favorite, depending on where you look. I know Dallas hasn't looked amazing to start the year, but they had that great comeback against Atlanta. They went toe-to-toe with Seattle. They've had some real challenges. We've seen Cleveland look much better, like on the Thursday night stage, and then they backed it up, but Bengals and Washington is not the same as what they're going to see with Dallas, even with this banged up defense.
Yeah, the Browns are going to have a hard time slowing down this juggernaut Cowboys offense here. And my big thing for me, the reason why I think the line opened up at where it did was the ability of Cleveland to keep the ball on the ground and potentially control the clock slightly. But that's probably not going to be enough. And anytime you have to put the ball into the cook's hands, Mayfield is not a good baker, and he's been overcooking a lot of his throws this year. As you could see, like he just puts too much zip on them. Like he hasn't learned the ability of touch passes. Him and Odell are just not on the same page. Now, one thing I will say as a Cowboys fan that I'm terrified about is Odell is one of those guys who has a history of torching the Cowboys. And I fully expect him to come out here and potentially have a 6 for 120 and a touchdown day with the Cowboys still covering the 4.5. Like I like Dallas against the line.
Yeah, I think I like Dallas too. I think okay, so 3 games in, like Mike McCarthy, how are we feeling after because Jason Garrett was the problem, and now it seems like McCarthy and Kellen Moore are the problem, and I don't know. It's a weird situation. Dallas still hasn't paid Dak Prescott. Like, does it seem like maybe this is a weird spot, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm getting Dallas at home, less than 5 points." Like, and then this is where like the Browns went outright and like shock everybody.
See, I can see how people would kind of think that, as the Cowboys have last year. We saw this against teams who had really good defenses in Buffalo and like the Rams and stuff. But Cleveland is not one of those opponents. I know that they've improved on the defensive line, as they're top 10 in the NFL in like adjusted line yards with their defensive line. So they're not allowing a lot at first contact. But this Cowboys offense is a different beast that they're facing, and we saw Baltimore, who just got completely shut down on Monday night against Kansas City, come out here and steamroll the Browns in the first half in week 1. And I can envision the same scenario with Dallas just jumping out to a huge lead early on. And, it'll be difficult sledding for the Browns to come back with the ball in Baker's hands.
Yeah. They're a team that's definitely built to use Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And when that doesn't happen, things go sideways. Let's talk Green Bay and the Falcons. Like, I'm done. Like, the Falcons are dead to me. Every time I want to get on board, they let me down. They blow it against Dallas. They had the game against Chicago. It shouldn't have even been close. And in steps Nick Foles, and all of a sudden, Atlanta's defense just wilts. And like they're dead to me. Dan Quinn is going to be first coach fired after this game. I don't know.
Well, this is a game that I think it's like one of our first disagreements here. Like as bad as the Falcons have been, I
Mm-hmm.
think this is a game where I'm going to take the touchdown and a half. As good as Green Bay's offense has been, their defense has been as bad. Like they're they're one of the worst in the NFL in like points per snap against them, as they're allowing almost a full point per snap in a game. Like it's like 0.6 points per snap. This Green Bay offense now was coming into a week where the Lizard King is hurt. He may not play now. Devontae Adams is still recovering from a hamstring issue, which we don't know if, even if he's active, we don't know how healthy he's going to be. And this is also a team who, yeah, they may have beaten New Orleans, but it's not like they were able to get anything really going on the ground. Atlanta has been okay defensively against the rush, and the Falcons may get back Julio Jones and Russell Gage this week. So I'm looking at a game where if Atlanta can, instead of shitting the bed late, why don't they just keep it close and be trailing the entirety of the game, only to have the opposite happen and try to make a comeback against the defense that is definitely susceptible to two drives against really good passing teams?
Yeah, man, it's tough because I see where your head's at, and normally I want to agree with you, but like the Falcons are just not good, and they have a lot of holes, and they make questionable decisions at the end, and they're already banged up on both sides of the ball, and this Green Bay team is looking to be just as good as last year. They were a team that I was kind of like, oh yeah, no, they'll come back to the pack a little bit, and Aaron Jones will come back to the pack a little bit, and he looks good. They're using the tight ends, something I've never seen in Aaron Rodgers' time. And, MVS and Lazard have both stepped up even without Devontae Adams. It sounds like there's a chance he may play this week. I'm taking the Packers to win at home in a big, big way. They're 7-point favorites right now. I think Green Bay wins this comfortably. I'm looking at like,
give me the Falcons with the points. I think this is one of those games where the narrative would be a full 180 had Atlanta recovered the onside kick, and if they would have held on against Chicago. We're looking at a 2-1 Falcons team who the offense is still elite, and the defense wouldn't be on the hook for blowing those big leads coming into a game against the Packers team who, yes, they're scoring a ton of points, but they're also allowing a lot of points against an elite offense. So I think that 7.5 is one of those that I'm going to take it now as long as it's 7.5. But this is another game that if it creeps underneath the touchdown, it'll probably lean Packers like heavy money on that.
Yeah. And like right now, the two primetime games, Sunday night, Monday night, the Niners 7-point favorites versus Philly, and Green Bay 7-point favorites versus Atlanta. Like, part of me is like, oh, the Falcons and the Eagles both look awful. They're having injury issues. Take the big favorites. I know it's not super comfortable against teams that we've seen play well, but these teams are still overvalued in the public eye because of Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl and because of the Super Bowl run of Atlanta. But I got to go with the home teams, and I know it's not fun laying that 7, but I think they both win in a big way this week, and maybe I'll end up with an egg on my face. Atlanta and Philly, I think, are going to be teams that like I don't want to bet against them or bet on them. I'm just going to avoid them completely because I don't know. Let's talk about that Bears team. At home this week, 3-0. That's the undefeated Chicago Bears. I think they keep it going. They're 2.5 point underdogs at home against the Colts.
Give me the points, baby.
Are like, is this like a trap and I'm walking right into it, like hand over fist, dropping all my money in the process? Like, I don't understand what I'm missing here. Nick Foles is a huge upgrade over Trubisky. That defense is sick. Allen Robinson and David Montgomery and Jimmy Graham's turning into a fantasy superstar again. And I like the Colts, but in terms of Phillip doing what Phillip does and the pass catchers, and I don't think they'll be able to establish the ground game like they like. Their defense is already banged up. Malik Hooker's done for the year. Their front seven's better, obviously, adding DeForest Buckner to go with Darius Leonard. That's a sick front seven. But I think Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson and Jimmy Graham are able to make some big plays in the secondary. The Bears win another game at home, and we talked about this team kind of before the season as a one we were kind of keeping an eye on as a dark horse team, thought could make some noise, and all of a sudden they're sitting at 4-0 and looking like a legit playoff team.
Yeah, it only took Chicago to listen to every single fan in America to finally put Nick Foles in at quarterback for them to realize that they are a much better football team when that guy is at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
He just offers something that Mitchell Trubisky doesn't in terms of the ability to make good decisions on whether to throw the ball away, when to try to fit it into tight windows. Nick Foles is unafraid to throw it down the field to his elite high ball receiver in Allen Robinson, something that Mitchell Trubisky hasn't really ever been able to do. This defense, again, like you said, that front four is still getting after the quarterback. Khalil Mack is a freaking monster still. Even those DBs out there, like they play a lot better when the team is able to get pressure on the quarterback.
Yep.
I like the Bears with the points here. Like I'll probably take them money line bet, but it's not one that I'll be including in it if I'm parlaying anything or anything like that. The side that I like in this game is I'm leaning the under, the 43.5. I could see this as being one of those ugly 17-13, 17-14 games with both teams kind of struggling to get anything going on the ground game. And then, because even without Malik Hooker, Indianapolis's pass defense has performed really well due to the fact that, like you said, their front seven is probably top 3, top 5 in the NFL right now. And so I think this game is going to be extremely low scoring.
No, I like that call quite a bit. I've watched a lot of Indy the past couple weeks, and I was watching this Bears game. Obviously, I was on Atlanta last week. When Foles came in, there seemed to be a level of confidence that the Bears are exuding, and Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, and it just seemed like they were more engaged, more like they're not like, oh fuck, here we go with this guy again, throwing to the wrong team.
Even with their 2 consecutive unsuccessful drives with Foles at the helm, you could see the demeanor of the team completely change. The defense had like a different level of exuberance. The offense didn't look downtrodden every time there was an incomplete pass or a poor run. Like they have faith in Nick Foles as a leader. When Mitchell Trubisky back there, they were just praying that he wasn't running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Yeah. Let's talk the best of the rest. Let's run through a few more games. The Bills-Raiders was one you wanted to mention. Raiders are 3-point underdogs at home. Speaking of my best bet from last week, the Buffalo Bills, I was feeling so good at halftime.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh, this is going to be a rocking chair win. I was so right about this. And then come the fourth quarter, the Rams catch steam, put up some points, take the lead, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. But Josh Allen was able to make enough plays, scored a touchdown at the end, and helped me cash my Bills money line, my Bills -2.
It was aided by a questionable pass interference call. It probably was pass interference, but it's just one of those that
there's
in this situation.
And I noticed that there's a questionable here, but then there's a questionable there later.
Yeah.
But now they're on the road in a spot that's, I guess we have to decide, like, is this Bills team like really fucking good, 12-4, like legit, like AFC pseudo contender, and if that's the case, then 3 points is still not enough, like even on the road, or this is still the Bills team we've seen in previous years. Well, they'll have good games and they'll win games they should, especially at home, but they'll also go on the road and lay stinkers and not do well. We saw the Raiders look great in their home opener against New Orleans, which New Orleans were starting to question kind of what they're doing. So maybe it was more about New Orleans in that case. But Darren Waller's banged up. Josh Jacobs is banged up. This is a really good defense against a questionable offense without Henry Ruggs, without Bryan Edwards potentially. Like, the Raiders have a lot of question marks coming into this game. And so for me, I think the Bills are legit, and I think that 3 points isn't enough. And if I had to bet it, the Bills would be the side. But what about you?
So, I mean, you're going to get a lot of people, even with the Raiders injuries, who are going to look at that 3.5 as a home dog and be like, "Oh man, they beat the Saints at home as a 3.5 point underdog. Darren Waller just absolutely destroyed New Orleans. Like they're going to be hammering the Raiders here." And that, to me, I'm sorry, hell no. Give me the Buffalo Bills. We are fully circling the wagons here. This team is for real. They proved it last week when they let the Rams go on a 31-0 spurt to take the lead in that game, and the fact that they were able to come back and win that on the last drive. Josh Allen's maturation is here.
Yeah.
He has cemented himself as a top 8 quarterback in the NFL right now. That was also without Smokey Brown on the field, who injured himself late in the third quarter against the Rams. He's practicing right now, so he should be back this week. The side that I'm on this week too is not just the Bills, but I love their team total over 26.5. Like the Bills have scored over 27 in all 3 games this year, while also they're allowing almost 26 points a game to the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Rams last week. So the Bills are going to come out early and often. They've been chucking the ball at like 64, 65% of all their plays. The Raiders are atrocious on defense. We saw New England just absolutely control the game against them, and Cam didn't really have to do nothing, and that was like my second favorite bet last week, was betting the Patriots as much as possible. You kind of knew that was going to happen, but yeah, no, I love Buffalo this week. That's one of my favorite lines.
Let's talk about the other half of that game, because the Rams were kind of underwhelming, and we kind of felt like this was going to be a bad spot for them, where they had to go east and then come back to the west, and then go back to the east, and came out a little lethargic. But seeing what they were able to do for 4 quarters and really stick in a game that they could have easily been like, "Oh, we'll wrap it up. We'll call it a day. We'll get ready for next week. No worries." But Darrell Henderson, they're still running the ball incredibly well against good defenses. Jared Goff looks back to the old one that led the Rams to the Super Bowl. 2 tight ends, 2 receivers. Like, they have so much talent. Now they're home after that game as 13-point favorites against the Giants. I guess, do you lay it? Like, do we just say, well, the Giants are horrendous, and Daniel Jones is terrible and really regressing, and Devonta Freeman, if Saquon Barkley isn't the answer, Devonta Freeman sure isn't the answer. But when I set this line, because I go through and predict kind of what I think the line's going to be, I had the Rams as a touchdown favorite. Now they're up with 2 touchdowns. Do we hold our nose and take the Giants, or do we delay it, or we just run away and don't touch this game?
This is one of those abnormal games where I will probably be laying the 13.5 with the Rams, just kind of seeing what San Francisco was able to do last week, minus their like top 6 offensive players. And the Rams are coming in like healthy. Darrell Henderson is looking like the guy that we thought we were going to get last year. All 3 of the wide receivers are balling out. Josh Reynolds looked like the guy who we thought was going to be the new best thing there. Tyler Higbee is playing well. Gerald Everett is healthy. They're protecting Jared Goff. The defense is still able to make stops. Well, I guess not when they need it against Buffalo, but the defense is still really good. The Giants, like we said last week about that backfield situation, they cannot generate yards on the ground. They're not protecting Danny Dimes. Now they go up against the friggin' beast that is Aaron Donald. Like, I can see the Rams defense scoring more points than the Giants can put up on the board this week, which is why I like the Rams laying the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and like, normally I'm not a big fan of teasers just because I don't think there's as much value in them as they seem to be, but like a Packers, Niners, Rams 3-team like 7-point tease, because you're getting the Packers and the Niners just to win, and you're getting through 10, you're getting through 7, and you're getting basically the Rams -6 if you do a full 7-pointer. That is incredibly appealing. But the one other team that I would consider is Seattle, but I hate going with a big favorite on the road. Like, if you can get,
those are tough,
because it doesn't seem like there's a couple times a year Where
And it's Miami too. Miami is notorious for playing really well at home.
Yeah. So that's kind of where my head's at. Any other games you wanted to hit on? Anything else jumping out to you?
So the last one that I wanted to talk about was something that you and I talked about prior to recording here, and it's probably my favorite bet of the week and something I've already hammered, and that's got to be the Ravens as a 7-point line for the first half against Washington. This is a Washington football team who it comes out today that Terry McLaurin is nursing. I think it was a groin injury or of some kind. They're without Chase Young on the defensive side of the ball, which is a huge blow to this team, which is now facing a Ravens team who's going to be pissed off that they got smoked against Kansas City. The Ravens have put up 24 and 20 points against two teams that they were supposed to destroy in the first half, which was against Cleveland and Houston. Washington is allowing an average of like 18 to 19 points in the first half, while they've only scored a total of 14 in the first half this year. They've only scored 2 touchdowns. The Ravens are absolutely going to steamroll the Washington football team in the first half, and I could see this game as being – Kyle mentioned it, 24-3, even potentially 28-3 at halftime. So
Yeah.
I'm going really hard and heavy on Baltimore -7 first half and the team total of 23.5 first half points for the Ravens.
I like it. I like it a lot. Actually, you already bet it, so I'm right there with you. Before we leave, best of the rest, I do like the Minnesota Vikings on the road.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is not good. I'm on them too.
Oh, God. So,
exactly.
The fact that they had no COVID results and they were able to practice and do what they need to do is a great sign. Their pass rush isn't amazing, which kind of worries me because the biggest weakness for Houston is that offensive line. But they took a huge step forward last week against my Titans. I watched the game very closely. Kirk Cousins looked much better. Now it's still Kirk Cousins and it's on the road, but I could see this game not being very good. I could see this game, kind of being a slugfest and the Texans even winning it. But it feels like a field goal game either way. So if I get 4.5, depending on where you're betting it with Minnesota, I feel like that's the right side.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. We warned everybody about the Justin Jefferson breakout, and it came, and it was a big one this past Sunday. And now that they've established that there are 2 legit options on the outside, this pass offense is going to open up slightly. I think maybe we'll see them kind of involved in tight ends a little bit more against Houston. Dalvin Cook had his career best game on the ground last weekend. We'll see him this week in the passing game a little bit more, as Minnesota's defense will have issues against Houston. But this will be a game that'll be back and forth, up and down all day. And like you said, if I'm getting more than a field goal in a close game, in a game that I'm anticipating to be really close, then I'll take that every day.
Yep. I want to talk the total of this game too, because I was looking at it and it felt a bit aggressive. It's at 53.5 right now. It opened at 54.5. It's already come down a full point. Doesn't that seem like a lot for these two teams? I know we saw Minnesota score 30 points last week, but I feel like Minnesota at home versus Minnesota on the road. I know Houston has been able to put up points in some spots, but it feels like Brandon Cooks is either great or nothing. I feel like Will Fuller's either great or nothing. They can't get anything out of David Johnson. It feels aggressive.
Well, to lead off, I would just like to mention that Will Fuller was added to the injury report today with a hamstring injury. So
of course.
There's that again. We told you.
Will Fuller's hamstring failing on him.
We told everyone about that before the season started. But no, yeah, I feel like the books are taking advantage of the early season struggles of NFL defenses to stop opposing offenses, as there's been some extremely high scoring games, that probably more than we've seen in a really long time, but it'll eventually correct itself. And especially for the Vikings team going up against a Houston offensive line, who is probably the worst in the NFL. And it doesn't matter who the hell's rushing the passer. They would allow me to get to Deshaun Watson. Especially if Minnesota were to get out to a lead in this game, they're still their offensive game plan is still to hand the ball off to Alexander Mattison and Dalvin Cook all day. And if they can get a lead and just continue to run the ball, this could be one of those games where everyone's hammering the over and it winds up 24-17.
Yep. Before we talk our best bets and recap our week 4 picks, I did want to mention a couple college lines that I'm looking at. Baylor -2.5, -3 is incredibly interesting. I know they're on the road. West Virginia is just not as good as they have been. They're still trying to figure out kind of the next look of that offense. South Carolina, I know it's going into the swamp, but like Florida is good. Kyle Pitts is a stud. But I think if you can get it over 17, I'm worth taking a shot at. And then we have Service Academy unders this week, Brian. Navy and Air Force are playing. The total is somewhere between 46, 47, depending on where you look. I take it all the way down to 45. Just a little something to stick in your pocket. The under since 2005 has gone 35-9-1. When 2 service academies play against each other, and oftentimes the under hits by like, I think the average hit rate is by 6 or like it goes under by almost a full touchdown. Last year I had to sweat one out. That was a little concerning. And I think both these offenses are compelling where if they were facing other teams, but when service academies play each other, they tend to play a little more slow pace. They tend not to run up the score if the games get lopsided.
Well, they're also extremely familiar with the offensive game plans of the opposing team because they play the same exact offense. So,
yeah, so I would bet a farm or two on the under this week and give you a little something on Saturday. So, Brian, let us recap our week 4 bets. I'll have you start off first. What is your card looking like this week?
So I'm liking Baltimore first half -7. I like the Cowboys -4.5 up to 5 against the Browns. I think I like the Bills -2.5, -3.5 even at the Raiders, and my best bet is going to be the Bills team total over 26.5.
I like it. I'm going to go Green Bay -7. I'm going to go the Niners -7. I'm not going to feel great about it, but I feel like those are going to do right by me. I'm going to take the Bears. As long as you can get it, +2 or hit the money line, I'm willing to do that. I think if the Bears become the favorite in this game, I'd be a little concerned, but I think this is a close game. I'll take those points. And I'm absolutely with you on Baltimore. I think the first half line makes too much sense.
While you stew over your best bet, I'll add one more for me, just for the sake of argument. I'm taking Atlanta +7.
Thoughts and prayers, my friend. I'm gonna make the Bears my best bet. I don't love it, but Brian's doing his dirty bird dance for anybody not joining on YouTube. You're really missing out. You should really do that. And as we get ready to sign off, make sure you mash that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're rating, reviewing on Apple Podcasts. It really does do a lot for our show. Help us keep cranking these out and creating content for y'all. So as always, in the comments, let us know your best bet for the week. If we hit some winners, we'll start mentioning you on next week's show. Also, Sunday morning, we're here for an hour between 11:30 and 12:30, answering your fantasy questions, answering your betting questions, and help getting you set for another week. Brian, with further ado, enjoy week 4, and I'll talk to you next time.